So firstly, when we talk about live video in the digital realm, the platforms are changing on a day-by-day basis, and really, I guess the thing for me that I find fascinating and most interesting about this realm is audience habits and kind of where we've come from a medium that is very traditional and has been with us our entire lives, and kind of went away a little bit when our focus turned to digital platforms, and then is coming back into a resurgence. So to start us off, Amisha, I'm going to come to you to talk about the best practices. Sorry, someone's got to be first. Let's talk about the best practices of live video, specifically digital live video. Now, I know that you're a big believer in integrating with influencer marketing programs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So when you think about the audience you want to reach, how do you reach them? And so we can always put a great spokesperson or a customer with a spokesperson from SAP, and we can talk about it. And that could be interesting, and it shows a good problem solution scenario. And people who are interested in SAP will come and watch the content or be interested in it. But what about everybody else? There's lots of people that may not even be interested, but people are interested in trends and topics, and they're influenced by people they really believe in or would like to get advice from. So we work with influencers to create content, co-create content, or sometimes they just create it, and it's around a trend or a topic that is really interesting and kind of provides a really great hook to create some content that can lead people back to SAP as a thought leader, and then we can talk about product as we move them down the customer journey. But the piece of content we create with influencers can have impact. And also then that, we're associated with that influencer too. So we get some of that wave by being with that influencer. And then we end up with a really good, engaging piece of content that's not an ad for our brand, because we have a lot of that type of content already. We create a lot of content as a company. And so when we work in this way with the influencer, we're creating really good, rich, relevant, and in the moment content.
Okay, that's a really good answer. Let me just ask you about when we use the word influencer. What is it about an influencer that has so much impact? Is it the skills that they have? Is it their personality, or is it the audience they bring, or is it a mixture of the two?
I think it's a mixture. It's their voice and how intelligently and the types of angles that they can put on things. We could do the same thing, but then people will think, oh, of course they're going to say that they're SAP. But, for example, we're, talking about the Internet of Things. When we talk about it, we're talking it more from a product perspective. And even when we talk about a trend perspective, we always lead back to, SAP, and people have that in their mind when they see an SAP spokesperson. So when you look at an influencer, they're knowledgeable or they're known for a trend or topic. They are authentic to that audience. They're not, they're brand agnostic almost. And so they're adding value to that conversation where even if you said the same thing, it wouldn't be perceived as the same type of value.
Great, thank you. Brian, would you agree with this? I know that you're a big believer in authentic engagement with regard to one of the best practices in live videos. Do influencers play a key role in that, or could it be wider?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to highlight Amisha's point on authenticity, it's interesting, especially because you're in a B2B space, and we work a lot in B2C, Magic Links does. So I think authenticity is really live. There's no such thing as no authenticity in live, right? You're live, so whatever happens is going to be authentic. And so as brands try to engage with that, what we see is how do you take the creativity of that person who's developed an audience? They are a brand themselves, and they've developed their brand in many cases because of how authentic they are. And so how does a brand engage in a really kind of creative way? So one example, just recently, there's a store in Chicago called Apt, ABT. Is anyone here? So the Cubs won the World Series earlier this week. Is anyone here from Chicago? Early couple. Okay, congratulations to all of you. Do you guys know Apt? Do you know the store Apt? Okay, so interesting. So Apt is a specialty retailer in Los Angeles. It's kind of like Fry's, but they sell everything. So they're known for tech, but they also have home products. They have treadmills, things for your kitchen. They sell like everything, but it's specialty. They're local to Chicago. And so as they were looking to engage with an influencer who's a Facebook Live influencer based in Chicago, as we started to have this conversation, the influencers are like, oh my God, I love Apt. I've decorated my kitchen with it. I know that their products, we have all these archival footage. We want to take VHS tapes and turn it into digital, and Apt has this stuff that lets us do that. And so many times when brands are thinking about engaging into live, right, the conversation is like, well, how do we take our marketing hat and like spin some message? And I think where this is going is actually influencers that use their products are out loving them every single day, let their creativity come through. And if that is empowered, then I think that's what drives commerce for companies that are trying to engage there.
Great, interesting point. So while we're talking about commerce, Zach, I know that this is a point that you've brought up in the past about monetizing through Facebook Live being a thing that is going to be a big part of live video streaming. What do you think it is about that? Like, how does that play a role?
Well, for us, Facebook Live, actually, there's kind of two ways that we're using Facebook Live right now. One is we'll partner up with a brand. For instance, we partnered up with S&S, which is the largest aftermarket Harley-Davidson parts maker, and they make all these parts that you can put onto your Harley and make it faster and better. And so we partnered with them for a series of live videos streaming from different motorcycle shows around the world, where basically it's brought to you by S&S. It's very traditional broadcast in its own way, the way that you're sponsoring. They used to have 60 Minutes was brought to you by Lucky Strike, or it's kind of a weird throwback that way, but they get to be directly in front of our audience, bringing them this awesome content, and it just gives them a very big lift. And then, of course, we can cleverly work different types of product into the show that features it, in a nice way, an organic way, as everybody loves to, say, but it is. I mean, it's just show the product in use. Everybody knows that, right? It's kind of standard for showing, if you're on e-com and you're showing your product, it's best to show it in use by a customer. So this is completely organic. This is people doing great things with this product live, and the numbers are staggering in terms of the engagement. You'll get several thousand comments per 30-minute show. You'll have a reach of 1.5 million. It's worth a lot. It's actually worth way more than brands can pay at this point.
So we've all seen the trend of branded content picking up amazing momentum and becoming a solution to the lack of space for advertising now, with fewer people watching linear TV, and subscription services like Netflix and SVOD, other SVOD services. There's fewer places to put adverts. Is live streaming a potential future place for those adverts through branded live content?
Sure, yeah. We have another thing. We launched the first live film festival on Facebook. So we reached out to different sort of motor-themed filmmakers who made short films anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes in length. We did a deal with them that would allow us to stream that live, so it becomes more like again, traditional broadcast platform, but we feature them in the comments live. So it's it's like event programming, right? This kind of idea. So everybody knows 11 a.m. it's Biker Movie Sunday. And we promote that across all of our channels, through our newsletters, on our social, everywhere. So 11 a.m. Pacific is Biker Movie Sunday. What are we going to show? And we bring a piece of content. We use Wirecast to stream that through the API, and then feature the filmmakers. You can interact live with the filmmakers, and that's just something that's, it's just getting better and better, because very shortly they're going to allow picture-in-picture. They're going to allow, someone could be streaming live, you can mix two streams. You know, we're right at the edge of that right now in terms of you could show content, but then you could feature the filmmaker live actually talking. You know, how even Twitter did the NFL, but then they had the extra. So it's like adding additional energy and content to your content. And that's something that linear TV can't do anymore.
And it feels like in terms of bandwidth and technology, we're at a point where that's only now really something that we can adopt and can be a thing that's in every home, which is kind of an exciting prospect. We had a similar project recently for TNT at Ignition, where we live streamed the launch of Animal Kingdom, one of those shows, and it was an integrated campaign that we started off doing the print and the trailer and a social campaign, and then the Facebook Live element kind of happened as a bit of an add-on. And what we all found fascinating about it was the engagement you can get with the audience. And like you said, Zach, being able to respond live to their comments in the feed, it feels like a level of an interactive audience interactivity that is we've never really seen before, which is immensely exciting. Obviously, we talked about Facebook Live, and there's many platforms. David, tell us, in your experience, you've experimented at Chapman University with a multitude of different platforms. What do you think the best practice is at the moment? What's the most successful? What's the winner at the moment?
That's a great question, and I think it goes down to kind of the basics, right? And I was moving around because I thought maybe this is a motion center kind of.
We thought you were dancing, and it's totally okay.
I almost did. I almost started doing that. I think when we talk about all different types of content marketing and inbound marketing, we know that there's multiple platforms that can do a lot of different things. So when we talk about streaming video, I think it's very similar. It's a matter of knowing your audience and what are the demographics of the people that you're trying to reach. Is your population going to be more likely to be on YouTube or Facebook, or nobody's doing Meerkat anymore. And Periscope is still out there. But it'll be interesting to see with live video and with other types of video kind of what happens. I think they announced relatively recently that everybody at Vine's getting laid off, right? So some of these platforms will survive and some of them won't. YouTube has the brand behind it, and they've been doing live video for a long time. Really, YouTube was doing live video before Meerkat and before all these other things, but they didn't have the social base to really make sure that their content was kind of going viral quickly. So they create Google+, and I know everybody in here has Google+ and is on it every day and loves it. But when that failed, then Facebook was like, this is awesome. We can declare war on YouTube and take over video, at least streaming video. So they, of course, adjust their algorithms so that their video does better than when you embed or when you paste links from other video platforms into Facebook. You probably noticed before, you could paste a YouTube link in there and it would play and everything would be fine. Now you paste a YouTube video in there, it still plays, but you have to push play and there's a whole sequence. Whereas now Facebook has decided we're going to autoplay our videos and we're also going to privilege it in our algorithms. So when you paste or when you're using Facebook Live or Facebook video, your content is more likely to be seen on Facebook than if you're pasting a link from another source in there. So this is a very long and convoluted answer to your very simple question. I apologize. But I think Facebook is probably the staple. It's probably a must. I think YouTube is still very good. We think of YouTube Live as streaming something live on YouTube, but we also have to remember, out of the Google Plus, failed experiment, there was Google Hangouts, and people do use Google Hangouts, and it is a good way to facilitate a conversation. If this wasn't a live conference, I wouldn't be surprised at all to learn that we would be doing this over Google Hangouts, where there would be 4 or 5, talking heads, and that, of course, saves to YouTube. And I think I'm done rambling for the moment. Have you heard of the new one, though, see, I lied. What's this? Blue Jeans, I think, is a competitor to Hangouts now. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Yeah? I haven't used it yet. I haven't used it either. You like it?
I only know about it.
Okay.
Building tends to.
Yeah. Maybe Google will just buy it and make it go away.
But it sounds like the two main factors between all these platforms, and there's a lot to choose from, and it's constantly changing, but the two main factors seem to be the platform itself and how the functionality and how it streams and how easy it is to use, but also the audience. So I'm going to open this question up to the panel because I'd love your thoughts as well. If anyone has a particular preference at the moment, bearing in mind that things change very rapidly, and also each platform might be better to serve a separate purpose. But for you guys, is there a winner? Is there a clear leader in the field at the moment?
So for us, we've used both, but we have used Facebook Live more because the video quality is much higher. And so, when we take a look at these live videos, when we're done, for example, at our annual conference, we shot 21 live videos for our IT audience. So we're not going to just, we'll put those 21 videos up in different social media channels, just cut it up, but we could actually cut it up and reuse it in our marketing campaigns and do kind of a best of reel. And we were able to do that with the Facebook Live video because the quality was higher. When you put on YouTube, there is some compression, so the quality tends to be less. But, also on Facebook, we found we already have, if you belong to like the SAP HANA Facebook page, then you are going to see that video in your feed because, like he said, the algorithms, they've set it up so that when you use Facebook Live, it shows up in all of your followers' feeds more right now because they really want live to take off. So you do get that bump. But then when you look at YouTube, you also have a built-in audience as well, and it's, easily shareable. So I find Facebook is a little bit harder to share unless if you want to get outside that platform. So those are some of the pros and cons.
Okay, guys, what do you think?
Yeah. Did anyone here attend VidCon? A couple of people. Okay. I almost would have called VidCon LiveCon this year because there were StageMe. There was a number of other platforms that were there, and I am tending to agree with David about Facebook Live being where this is like the winner. Like I almost think we can declare them the winner now, because it's a challenge, right? You need to have audience and you need to have great content. And Facebook has audience, and now people are coming there to create great content. And building a huge audience, especially in live, is almost impossible for anyone else to do. And as you compare that to YouTube, which has had a live product exactly for a long time, and announced that as the big sort of like win at VidCon, right? We have a new, better live product now. But I still think the challenge on YouTube is that the way that people engage on YouTube is much more search-driven or driven by a particular creator who they love and they want to engage with. It's not driven as much by, let me browse around and see who's live, or let me sort of like check out what's going on and get this mix of a whole lot of different content. And then one of the things that's interesting that we're hearing from creators is YouTube is actually a better place to store your library of content. And so Facebook has made it hard to film a video on Facebook Live and then publish it onto YouTube as well. And so some creators are actually thinking about, do we double record our live presentation into both platforms? Mainly because we're thinking about how do we have that archival footage live in a place where we can have a monetization opportunity from a creator's perspective, which you have on YouTube and you don't have on Facebook, and have a place where that library of content can really live and be engaged with going forward. And I think both sides are going to figure out new trends to this, but to me, I don't know. I mean, I don't know of any live video product right now that is going to be able to solve audience and have just such a killer experience that everyone's going to flock to it.
It's an interesting point, though, I think that you raised, Brian, is that when we're delivering, and we find we do this all the time, when we deliver a piece of video for a client, it might go to one place, but more often than not, we're delivering hundreds of different formats, and we will often deliver a global campaign that will constitute digital out of home, it will constitute Facebook and Twitter, broadcastable versions. Like we'll have a list of hundreds or thousands of different deliverables all going to different platforms and different audiences. There's not a way to do that live yet. And in traditional media and broadcast television, they worked that out. There was a point where networks connected with affiliates and bundled together to have live broadcasts that were delivered to broadcasters in every city, every state, and then eventually simulcast around the world. Zach, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that that's going to, will we be in a place in the future to do that? Because I noticed that you guys have quite big ambitions to create a 24/7 live content feed, which, again, in traditional broadcast is the norm on a lot of networks, but in the digital live space is quite forward thinking.
Yeah, that's. I would say this, that Facebook, kind of going back one step, is I think Facebook is kind of winning. I agree with that, because they have the social nature of Facebook begets this sharing, whereas YouTube, as we know, is more of a search and archival kind of a thing. So the thing is that the trick, right, is getting it out, like you're saying, is getting it out constantly. So for instance, we did this show with Machinima a couple weekends ago, and it was 72 hours straight of live streaming. So that's one key, is keeping a consistent stream. And what we found was the average view time was 12 minutes, which is super high, like online especially. And when we kind of asked around, we realized that people were just leaving it on, because they knew that we were going to do stuff, or we were not going to do stuff, but they wanted to stay in the feed and stay in the chat room, and periodically during dead zones we would give stuff away, and so that would spike it. Now this was all on YouTube, so granted Facebook is better socially, but for this, YouTube is where that channel's audience is, and we found that what we would simul chat on Twitter, because Twitter's more fun for chat, and because the YouTube chat, if anybody has ever seen it, it gets crazy after a while. I mean, we had 300,000 comments on this show, and it's trying to monitor and understand what's going on. It doesn't slow down for you, right? But on Twitter it does, so you can actually interact with people. So we simulcasted both to the Machinima main channel and to our channel. And so then we had a third, because Machinima has another channel called Inside Gaming. So what we did was a 4-hour VR 360 live feed. So we put a 360 camera in the Ouija board room, where they would periodically go in, and all the different people that we had there would do different stuff, and then a camera was sitting there as if it was like another player, so you could check in on the Ouija board room whenever you wanted, and that feed had its own audience and its own people. So we didn't go simultaneously. We ran out of bandwidth eventually because we were on location, so it's not like we had a truck out back. We were using Cox Cable for this home in Oklahoma City. So you kind of have to pick and choose your battles. So we decided that we would do 2 through a hardline feed, the main cameras and the 4 security cameras that we had where we were switching with Wirecast. And then we had the VR feed was its own thing, and we used a MiFi, which actually worked unbelievably well. We were shocked at how well that worked. And we were able to get a pretty high bit rate with the VR. So we would have done, again, simultaneous. Why not try a simultaneous to Twitter and a simultaneous? It just becomes a kind of a question, I guess, of bandwidth. But there's no reason why you can't create content and leave it going if you're just kind of creative about it. Our shows tend to be longer than anybody. Like, that's an extreme case. 72 hours straight is extreme. But even on Facebook, our motorcycling channel, we set up a network of moderator correspondents all over the world, because it's much cheaper. It's kind of the Vice model, right? It's much cheaper to have a correspondent in Japan who can go live than me send someone to Japan, right? We all, news organizations know this. So we've been busy kind of creating a sub-influencer network within our own network so that they can go out and get this content for us quickly and cheaply, and then we coach them and train them how to do live shows. So that's kind of how we're getting around that 24/7. Slowly we're building up to more correspondence equals more potential for more shows. constantly.
Here's what I think. I think that's a really interesting point. And the part of live streaming that I find really interesting is my background is in broadcast, before agency, before entertainment advertising. And about 19 years ago, I started in radio and then television broadcasting. And I've always had a feeling that there's two types of, and disagree with me if as well you may. I have a feeling that there's two types of content, and there's two types of way that we consume it, very active and passive. And if you look at, even on television, there's your flagship 9 p.m. Main show, which might be a more active experience, something that you're watching together, you're talking about, you're engaging with. And then there's passive content, like a 24-hour news cycle, something that you leave on in the background and it's just there. Radio, I think, is an interesting medium to look at, because by all accounts, I started my career in radio, and by all accounts, it should be gone, because a fair while ago, all of the content elements of radio got replaced by better versions. We were able to download music, we were able to stream music, we could get any song we wanted. We didn't have to call the DJ or wait for it to play and then listen to ads. We didn't have to wait until the top of the hour to get our news. So as a content form, I find it fascinating that radio is still around. And I mean, how many people in the room, just out of curiosity, in the last week have listened to radio in the background, in the kitchen, in the car? So we've got maybe, well, most of the room still listen to radio. And I'm fascinated as to why. And I have a feeling that it's to do with this active-passive culture that we're in, that sometimes you just want to flick something on, you want it to be there without having to make a decision process. You guys may disagree, but...
Podcasts are exploding. That's radio, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think that there's Spotify and there's podcasts and there's all these other things. And I notice in my morning commute, I prefer to listen to a podcast because I know exactly, I can get the content that I want to hear, or a specific music selection that I know I'm going to hear. But I was one of the people that raised my hand when you said who still listens to radio, and I think you're right. There's the path of least resistance, and sometimes I don't want to sound lazy to everybody in the room, but there comes a point where you're like, I just want to, and you just push the button and you drive, and you're like, I'm out, my podcasts, I'm all caught up, I don't want to find another one, it's a 15-minute drive, I'm just going to push the button so that I don't hear the ringing in my ears. Am I the only one that has ringing in my ears?
Yeah. Amisha, I'll come to you next, because you've mentioned, when we've talked about the future of live video, you've mentioned the idea of it being snackable. And in relation to this long-form, short-form discussion of whether the average, was it 12 minutes you said was the average consumption of live streams? But then we're also talking about longer streams. What do you think how should we be thinking about the word snackable with relevance to live video?
So when you're looking at live video, people know that you want to do some sort of promotion, because when you're doing, we're not doing 24-hour feed, but we know, like, for example, our annual conference was coming up. So we just let people know there's going to be live video here. And so you can do a teaser, and it's 30 seconds. You can use it within the Facebook platform, but then you can share it on Twitter and everywhere else. And it's short enough and it's interesting enough for people to watch it there, but know that something is coming and know where they need to go, and it's actionable so that they will be there when you actually have your live video. That's one way to think about snackable content. Another way is to look at your live video, and as things, as it's happening, you can take a small cut of it and use it in a variety of different platforms and ways. You can cut it up together and then make it part of a marketing campaign, so there's a longer shelf life. You can take little pieces of it. For example, we did a video with some influencers and a demo. We took their piece or their commentary, which was literally 10 seconds, and we sent it to them and said, here's a little piece of content for you. And it, they all put it up in their channels, and it linked back to the main video, but it was their piece. It was their contribution. So you can create little snackable pieces of content that way.
I think that's a really interesting point, actually, that when we talk about live video, in the transition from what I would call produced video or pre-recorded video, as we've moved into live video, we've sort of focused on the stream, but actually it doesn't need to be mutually exclusive, does it? It can be a live feed that also creates content that can be packaged up, and even in those 200 different ways we discussed earlier. I've got a couple of questions for you, and then I'd love to open it to the room and get some thoughts from around.
When you're doing the live video, it's not scripted. So everyone always says, "Oh, it's a script." I said it's not. And when we said that to a lot of our spokespeople, they said, "Well, what are they going to ask?" I said, "Well, it's around this topic." And obviously it's live. It's our, if it comes out terrible, we'll erase it. So we did a warm up, so we had them talk to the influencer first for a few minutes. And once they're warmed up, but the things that they say, it's more authentic, and you actually get better sound bites that way too. So.
I totally agree with that. I'm going to open up to the group and just ask all of our panelists what advice you'd give to anyone either embarking in live video or developing a platform or content in live video. Brian, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, so I think do we have creators in the room? A couple creators, cool. Okay, so I think anytime there's an early stage at a new platform, there's a opportunity for kind of first mover advantage in some of these places. So my number one piece of advice to a creator would be pick a platform, embrace it, and go for it. If you take Instagram, for example, and kind of their launch of the new short stories, the little things that come up top.
Their version of Snapchat.
Their version of Snapchat, yeah.
Not stolen.
Exactly. And Snapchat invented that, right? So let's give credit where credit's due. In Instagram, if you're doing those stories and you're doing video, the algorithms are gonna start taking over, and you're gonna show up for more of your friends and more of people who are not your friends yet, but might be interested in your content. So I think from an influencer perspective, embrace it, be early. There's actually an opportunity to be early right now. You think of just as an example, some of the biggest YouTube stars now were very early on that platform, and it took them years to get to where they are right now. People think that's kind of overnight, but a lot of times that actually wasn't the case. And so in live video, that opportunity exists right now. And then from a brand's perspective, I think it's embracing the authenticity of the channel. And Misha, what you were saying of let's have a warm up, let's have a sort of a topic that we know we're going to talk about, but let's not try to have a set of talking points or a set of things that someone needs to say as part of that. I think the brands that embrace that are going to have a ton of opportunity and be able to, because of the authenticity that's going to come through that, they're going to drive awareness and sales. And the brands who aren't embracing that, I think they're going to actually find it hard to set up the right opportunities. I think the brands are going to be in a position where all of a sudden they're hearing no from creators. No, I'm not going to sell out and have a scripted content on a live thing. Not going to do it. And then the brands have to figure that out, right? So, and I think new brands that are launching today that really get this space there are some that are absolutely taking off. And it's a function of, in the cosmetic space, right? Like B&H Cosmetics or Sally Beauty are two that are doing a really good job. Kylie Cosmetics, right? That's Kylie Jenner doing it. ColourPop and LA Girl Cosmetics are a couple of companies here that are basically built around how do they engage with influencers. And I think you're gonna see new brands that start up only based on live is the way that they build their brand. And you have brands that have been around for 100 years that are gonna be wait, we're paying for a commercial. Who's gonna say what we want them to say? And they're gonna struggle.
Cool. Well, I'd love to move on to some questions from everybody in just a sec. But firstly, Zach, is there any standout advice that you would give to anyone exploring this field?
I would say, think about, there's a lot of resources online where you can sort of raise your level of professionalism of your hosts, or yourself if you're the host. It's pretty standard stuff, but if you can learn a few tricks, it can really engage. One trick we did. So when I mentioned when things would get a little quiet, we would do a giveaway. Well, suddenly that's hugely engaging. The giveaway itself is its own content. It's its own exciting content, even though what's on the screen is not intrinsically interesting. So we would say, for instance, I became a character and I was in the control room. but all the talent is resting or getting ready for another thing, and they called me Glasses Guy. Like some guy online coined me, and they started a hashtag Glasses Guy, and I became Glasses Guy.
Comments can be
And
cruel.
I'm like the ostensible adult in the room, you know what I mean? I'm the producer, I'm Big Daddy, I'm watching over everybody, and I'm back there like this. All of a sudden, the camera turned on me, and they're like, Glasses Guy, give something away. So I was like, okay. I wrote down a number from 1 to 100, and I said, okay, everybody, tweet the number I just wrote, and whoever gets it first wins a t-shirt. So that went pretty interesting, right? And then we started thinking, the next time I did it, I said 1 to 500. We're totally trolling the audience, right? But they know it and they love it. They're like, you bastards, 1 to 500, but now you got the same person tweeting 10 more, 5 more times than 100 to get the same result. We're like, how far can we push this? Can we push it to like 1 million, 10,000? They would. And that's how we got, we had, 300,000 comments. We had, 1 million watched minutes. And we're not some massive broadcaster. We're like 4 guys in a room. So this is how you can compete. We do the same thing on Facebook and Twitter. You find the trick for your platform, like you're saying, kind of find what makes it work. Next thing you know, you can have your 20,000 Twitter followers all tweeting numbers, and of course that's going out to their, and everyone else is like, why do these people tweet? Well, you make them do a hashtag. So it's like win shirt, win shirt 2, win shirt 752. Like they're trying to get it. And then you're just reading them and you're giving them shout-outs is another one, right? Everybody who does live knows this. If you ever kind of get lost and you're doing something, just pause, collect your thoughts, start doing shout-outs. You can do shout-outs for 10 minutes and they love it. The fans of live love that part of it.
This is the thing I think about live video and digital live video now that is most exciting, is that the playing field has been leveled from a world which was very exclusive, that broadcasters retain, that you needed very expensive camera equipment, broadcasting equipment, licenses, and all these things which are in many ways completely irrelevant now, and it's open to all. I'd love to take some questions from the room before we finish. Who's, sir?
Glasses Guy, if you're only giving away a t-shirt, so if you hand autograph it, you go to 1 to 1,000. So you can even become more famous with your autograph on the t-shirt.
Right, Glasses Guy stuff.
Any other questions? Lady at the back.
I have 2. One, well, I'm a long-time SAP professional. Downloading once you have something on Facebook, downloading a video to get it anywhere else there's all these third-party tools with all this spyware on it. Is there any easy way to do it?
If it's your video, you can, if it's yours, you go under photo video and there's a way to download or embed it, and you get the link where it says advanced, and then you can take the link and it allows you to embed it like in a blog post, but as long as it's your video.
So that's the thing, I'm on WordPress for Sports Illustrated doing sports, and I always need videos, and I have the hardest time embedding. It disappears the code, but YouTube works. But
Right.
Facebook, I can't get that stuff into my, you'd think they would want you to distribute it further.
Well, one of the things, and I think probably the reason they make it a little more difficult than necessary, is because they want to keep you on Facebook, right? They want to keep you to the platform. But at Chapman University, just a couple months ago, we had an inauguration for a new president. And of course, he's from Italy, and he wanted his sister and all these people to be able to watch, his inauguration. And so we wanted a lot of our alumni and a lot of prospective students and different people to watch it as well. And we had to answer the question a lot of people in the room have to answer: are we going to do YouTube Live or Facebook Live, or what are we going to do? We found a product called Wowza. Mona, I was wrong before. I said it was Whizbang. I don't know why I said that. That's not even a thing. But Wowza is a thing, and basically we took our professional video feed and we used all the nice equipment that people have. We put it kind of through this product and then streamed it to multiple, places at once. So we streamed it on Facebook Live. We also streamed it with a different product that's really friendly to embed to our website. My understanding is that it also went to YouTube Live, although as a marketing department, we didn't push that just because we felt like we had it enough places already. So it might be worth looking at something like that, because some of the other places that feed can then be ported out to might be easier to download and to work with.
Yeah, I mean, so in Facebook, you're just downloading, you have to download it and then you can upload it, right? So then you'll have it forever on your blog post.
Great. And the second, thank you. Monetizing a YouTube channel. So I have a lot of content out there. It's not live yet. I haven't done that yet. But I don't want to put the ads and I don't want to put the skip ads, but I don't know if you guys have some ideas on how to finally monetize this stuff.
That's what my company does. So we're a piece of that. But what type of content do you have?
It's I'm interviewing athletes, coaches. I'm at sporting events, things like that. Like I'll go to Ball is Life showcase with everybody Dunking and all these future Pac-12, Duke and Kentucky. All of these guys are all in there. And they give me credentials, so I'm doing an interview and I write video and all kinds of stuff.
Cool. That sounds amazing. So on YouTube, the ways that you'll earn income, right, are a function of the video views that you have. If you can get sponsorships and people will pay to be a part, brands will pay to be a part of your videos. And then what Magic Links powers is social commerce. So basically you can link to products that are related to that video and then people can make a purchase. So from what you described, that could be a shirt, right? Like an athlete's shirt. It could be, if it's Pac-12, it could be a UCLA jersey or a USC jersey. It could be Ticketmaster events that are coming up. So basically anything that's related to that content. Some channels that are very much like beauty review related or haul related tend to do better on kind of a per video view metric. But there's certainly a lot of tools. We might be able to help, and there's some others, so would love to follow up after this.
Gentleman at the back.
This is more for SAP because it's B2B.
Yeah.
Have you had any issues with customers talking on live screen that have come to bite them in the butt?
You're saying, how hard is it to get?
No, like, because it's a large,
Right, yeah.
Sapphire is a large conference and you have a ton of companies come
Yep.
there. It's people talking that shouldn't be talking. Do you have to get things signed?
Yeah, so we always have a waiver of like we're going to use your image or whatever it is because you have to have that legally. But we don't just have anybody walk up to the, we have a live booth set up this past year. We did all these live videos. So we had customers that we had already spoken to and we talked about it, but they didn't really we didn't want them to talk about our product. We wanted them really to talk about the trends or issues. So we had the CIO of Sports Basement, and he was a big Microsoft customer and also SAP. So we said, we don't really want to talk about your solution problem sort of thing. We want to talk about what in retail, what does being in the cloud mean? What is that for? Why is that important to you? And why did you do it? So it became a little bit of a higher level conversation. Then the content was a little bit more interesting. But we had talked to him before about, here's a topic. And when you work with a customer like that, or with some of the larger brands we work with, we have to go through a lot of hoops to even get the customer approved. So even though it's not scripted, they have an idea of what they're saying. So it's not that just anyone can come up and sign up and just chit chat, right? Because then you don't want that associated with your brand, but you're also talking to customers who are trying to either promote themselves or their brand as well, so.
Great. Any other questions? Lady at the back there.
This is for anyone. Just sort of like incorporating live videos really into an event that's already happening. So that's what I get a lot as marketers. Like, we're gonna have this event, and we want to do this. Like, what are just either tips or like your bare minimum of sort of that entry of like what working with the event planners and working with other people? Like, what are the basic needs that you think in order to really live stream that you're like, okay, these are must-haves?
I think audio, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think audio is really important, especially when you're at an event, because we learned the hard way at the beginning that we didn't have the plug-in mic to the iPhones and things like that. So we actually ran out and got the plugins and we put it in, and then all of us to the microphone. And even though it was so noisy around everybody, we got really very clear audio. So I think audio is a really big component of live video. So, and there are lots of different attachments you can get for, iPad, iPhone, and even Android device, whatever you're using, they all have attachments, and you should try to attach it to a real mic or a lap mic or something, because then your sound quality is higher, and you need that sound quality. Otherwise your video is not really usable.
I would agree, and to kind of ask the stakeholders who are asking for that type of experience for a live event to ask them what kind of quality they want, because this is one of those things that you can spend nothing and you can spend a ton of money and you get what you pay for. So they have to kind of understand, maybe they can send a couple example streams or things like that they're looking for, so that you can diagnose, like, okay, we can do this. This is great. I'm going to need 2 people helping. I'm going to need a camera crew. I'm going to need a product like, it's not whiz-bang. Why did I keep mixing those two up? Wowza. And then we're going to, and audio being the bare minimum. So yeah, you need at least that. There is also a product called Movie. I think it's MOVI. It's a little 4K camera that you can connect to Facebook Live, so you can do these live streams. And it'd be kind of a middle of the road type of thing, where it will identify people's faces, and then you can kind of zoom in, and it allows you to it makes it look like you're editing. This is being recorded, so I have to be careful. We got one of those for the university to experiment with live events, and it was a little bit buggy for us. Don't worry, Movie, if you're watching this, I'm sure it was just ours, just a lemon. Everybody can go buy it. But we did end up returning ours just because the connection kept dropping and things like that. But that could be another option.
Is like having a host almost like the best way to keep things cohesive? Especially if like you're at a place like a sports event, or often I work in entertainment where it's going to be a party or an event, so you might be trying to just capture things in the moment and stuff. Like, is having at least a host or that one person of the connective tissue kind of keep it together?
I would say, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It doesn't take a lot of effort to plan what you want to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, really, right? Everybody's been to a party. So you know what a party looks like. You know what you hope the end result is. So you just want to make a basic outline. It doesn't have to be, depending on who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a pro, they already will hit their marks. You just need to kind of point them in the right direction. But if you're dealing with amateur moderators or hosts, just say, look, we want you to go here. We know. I mean, you also learn from experimentation from your audience. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, we still are. So-and-so's doing something. Try it out. I did a live stream of my Halloween costume because I was Picard from Star Trek. And so it was goofy. And people don't know my face really on our channel, but I thought, why not? It's goofy. I did it. It did fine. It's not like it did negatively. They were like, oh man, it's Zach from Choppertown. Oh, you're on screen. Wow, it looks really cool. You look like Picard. You're really dorky. And they kind of were like, we can connect to you now. Like, you're a real person. We want to continue supporting a real person. So there's a lot of freedom within live, I would say, for gaffes, for, one of our hosts, her very first show, she dropped her phone and it went all the way down the stairs. She's like, hey guys, this is in front of thousands of people. And she goes, hey guys, I'm so glad that, whoa! And she was horribly embarrassed. They were all like, oh my God, we back you. Come on, girl, you can do it. And they, you will find your audience. And I would just say it just takes a modicum of planning, and you'll see, that's the other great thing, right guys? You can see instantly, oh, we thought this was going to be interesting, but it's dropping. Don't do that anymore. Oh, this is apparently very interesting. Do more of that. You'll learn really fast.
You can change the conversation on the comments, so don't ignore the comments that are happening, because it can change your whole conversation, what's happening.
And I think that to echo the points of you guys, we've noticed this as well in live video, and certainly I noticed it in live broadcast. If there's a choice between talking and not talking, go for talking, whatever it is. Actually, the least produced, the better, and exactly what we discussed. There's even when things go wrong, let them go wrong and talk about it, be human, because then you have an anchor, you have an entertaining piece of content still. If the camera turns away and it's silence, then you've got a whole chunk of, and you know what, people are going to tune, there'll be some people that tune in for that one bit, and then it's affecting your brand, it's affecting their overall experience and opinion of everything you do, even though that's the one thing. So it's almost like that old saying, just be yourself and be natural. We've got time for one last question. I know you've been having your hand up a few times, so go for it.
For Facebook Live, given the fact that that platform, most people watch video without sound, how do you overcome that? Especially when you're doing Facebook Live content that's like an interview show or Q&A.
It's a good question.
We are not overly talking heads, actually. We have a little bit of talking, but we are more visually focused. So at the end of the day, we tell our moderators, you get about 10 seconds of your face. Because of course, they want to promote them, right? You know, it's natural. So we tell them, look, you start off on the action so that you get that initial thumbnail of something interesting, not of that person's face, unless it's Tom Cruise. Then you want that, because he's not a human anymore. I mean, he's a brand, right? So it's different. But I'm saying a normal person, hi, like that's not what you want to be your thumbnail. You want it to be something cool. So you start your action on something cool, talk, get up to speed, check your sound, ask everybody in the comments, am I getting sound? Can you hear me? And they're like, now they're triple engaged. They're like, oh my God, I'm being asked. Yes, I can hear you fine. So, okay, now you're up to speed. It's starting to get likes. It's starting to, now Facebook is pinging everybody in your feed, right? So it takes about a minute to 5 minutes to really get your most concurrence, right, on live. So you want them to almost waste time for that first section. They're getting up to speed. They're introducing, hey guys, we're at whatever. Have them repeat that message a few times because people are coming in. They don't know what you're doing, right? And they never read the description. They just want you to know. So you have to make it very obvious what it is that you're doing. So you want to keep the content very simple. You know, we're here, we're doing this. Then you show yourself, hey guys, it's me. Great to see you. Now back to the action. Boom. And then you go back into the action. And so that way you are keeping the talking heads down to a minimum, and we don't put premium we put a premium on sound and getting decent sound, but we don't really on the live shows put a premium on what's being said. That's just because very much for what you're saying is that people are more into the visuals of it, to the experience of it. For our stuff anyway, they're not really watching live to take notes or to like what's being said doesn't seem so important yet. That's our experience.
Yeah, and a couple things I'd add to that. It depends on the type of content that you're broadcasting live. I've seen some channels or events that have done a really good job of like pre-marketing when they're going live. So it's not spontaneous to the audience. It's like 6:30 p.m. is when we're going live, or there's like a surf thing that's happening at 8 o'clock, and that's when we're going live. So some of that pre-marketing, which gets into almost like analog television, but like this is when we're going live, and it's special that we're doing that. And so audience that's going to engage is going to skew much more towards we're here because it's live, and so we want to listen and want to be a part of that. Versus the default is really when you're kind of scrolling through your feed, and then in that case you want to have like I think little check-ins that like and this might be a part of as you're seeing the stats, right? So as you're having that engagement, as you're seeing that stat, then and you see all of a sudden a little spike in audience, say something that like relates to new people who are coming at that point in time, that gets the audience that isn't tuning in for a specific reason, but is coming because you're starting to sort of like hit a couple trends. And I think there's also I don't remember the exact specific of it, but there's a new like button that you can like sign up on Facebook. I don't know if anyone knows the exact name of that, but it'll actually do an announcement to all of your followers right as you go live. And I think that's a new tool that they've released somewhat recently.
I think it's a fascinating world where we've come full circle from live broadcast where everyone tunes in, and then going through this technological revolution where appointment to view isn't necessary. We can watch whatever we want, whenever we want. And now we're back where we started. Everyone wants an appointment, and actually if you give them a time they need to tune in, they're more likely to watch you. I think that's a sign of our times. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, everybody, for bearing with us. I hope it's been enjoyable. And please thank our panelists, David, Amisha, Brian, and Zach.